Going on, Falcon fan? This your boy Ricondo. I'm back at you with another video. So it's the first day of phase three of the OTAs. We're gonna talk about what we heard from the coaches, the players today. Get some insight. We're gonna talk about a guy who did not show up for OTAs. And we're gonna talk about that. And maybe I was wrong when I said that it might not be any controversy in the quarterback rooms. Definitely get in that. Talk about Kirk Cousins. We also will talk about what we heard from Michael Penix Jr. The new starting quarterback for the Atlanta Falcons going into his second season. And then, guys, what I really want to talk about something that we kind of forgot, and it's just talking about the offseason free agents that the Atlanta Falcons brought in because the Atlanta Falcons brought in a lot of guys, and we so excited about the draft class and the moves they made, bringing the young guys in, but the potential impact of some of these guys, free agents that they brought in, you know, rounding out that draft class and those young guys. We're going to talk about that today as well. So, guys, with that being said, if you have not already, go ahead and please subscribe to the channel. Please hit the notification bell so you know I drop another video. Please hit the like button so I know you guys out here that I talk about. Then please share my video throughout the YouTube universe so more people can come here and talk about. That's right, these Atlanta Falcons. So the first thing we want to talk about today, like I said, is phase three, guys. Of OTAs. This is still voluntary time frame, so it's not, if guy did not show up, they don't get penalized for it, anything like that. So it's but it's the first time all the team get together. They kind of do team activities. Of course, we know it's no pass and nothing like that. They still trying to make sure nobody hitting the ground, because you don't want any injuries this time of the year. But getting these young guys, first of all, getting the young guys in preparation to understand how the team practice, and then start doing some couple of installs. So when they start to get to training camp, a lot of these guys are already up to speed. So that's what this time of the year is about, especially for the younger guys. Learn how the Atlanta Falcons going to do their practices, kind of get some installs in and learn the playbook, and then the most important thing I think this time of year is to develop that team chemistry, right? The bonding, getting to know your new teammates. A lot of new players on this team. They got a whole new coaching staff on the defensive side of the ball. So you want to be able to, you know, develop that chemistry. So when you go into training camp, you guys got something built. We heard that from Caden Ellis today. Like I said, it is voluntary. Guys do not have to show up, but only time that makes sense. If you going into a team and everybody's coming back and everybody knows everybody, but this is a lot of new faces on this team, so this is a big important time for this team to develop that chemistry. So yes, OTAs it's not voluntary, but you want everybody that can come in and develop that chemistry. And that seemed like what this Atlanta Falcons team is doing. Getting the young guys acclimated to how they do business, how they go through practice, getting the playbook down, et cetera, et cetera, things like that. So that's what you want to get. That's what phase three about. We heard from Coach Raheem Morris. You know, it really seems like Raheem can don't really care about this time of the year, like because it can't really when you start talking about football in general, right? It's all about the pads. So like I said, he realized how important this time is, right? Because it is important. I just talked about the chemistry and things like that. But when it comes down to the football part, right, it's not a whole lot you can get into. It's more mental than physical right now, right? So the mental aspect, everybody learning the playbook, like I said, getting your teammates, things like that. That's what this time of the year out. And listen to Raheem Morris, he don't want to make it such a big deal talking about some who's, you know, standing out right now, things like that. Because right now you can't really tell that, especially when you talk about the trenches and things like that, right? You can see the stuff that we like to talk about, the skill players and stuff, and they can show out a little bit, right? We can see Michael Penix's arm, and we can see the chemistry that he's developed with his receivers, pass catchers, and things like that. But for the most part, the football aspect of it, you're not going to see any of that, and that's not what they're out there for anyway. They're out there, like I said, to get some installs in, to kind of get a rhythm, what's going on, and things like that. So that's what it's all about. So phase three, this is first day. We heard from a lot of guys today. We heard from Raheem Morris, we heard from Michael Penix Jr., we heard from Ken Naylor, we heard from Jake Matthews, Jordan Fuller. Um, we heard from Darnell Mooney, right? We heard from all those guys today. So um, most of those guys are veterans. We didn't hear from any of the rookies today, anything like that. But you know, you like to hear from the veterans and their perspective on it, and guys who have been through it. Um, more than one summer. What more off season? They kind of know the rhythm. Then you hear from guys who's been here before, especially guys who's been with Raheem under year one, right, going into year two of the system. So you hear from all those guys, and you know the takeaway I got from all those guys, like I said, just you know getting the chemistry on, getting to know your new teammates, getting to hear from Coach Albrecht and his staff about how they're going to transform this new defense, right? And that's what you love about this time of the year, guys. We're like 100 days out, and I know you excited. I'm excited. We almost back to football. This is really the dead time of the year. If you're a big sports fan, yes, the NBA finals are going on. The WNBA started to come in. If that's your forte, baseball season is just starting to come around. Um, you also got the UFL that's going on. If you do want to watch some football, but it's almost that time of the year to get back into the swing of things. The fall, man, that's what the best time of the year, and that's football season. So I know you guys can't wait, and I can't wait either. But phase three has started the first day, and that's really exciting. So let me know if you heard anything from any of the guys that was talking today. What your thoughts, what you took from it. Like I said, for me, it was pretty much developing the chemistry. Getting to the playbook. So stuff from neck up, right? Just getting your mental reps in, things like that. You're not gonna get a whole lot of football because there's no pass on yet. So Texas boy said, "What's up, homie Recondo, the Falcon fan family?" It's like you always say, man. Go ahead and put that up on the screen because you are right. You're 100% right. All right, let's get into the next topic, guys. The next topic today is going to be about Mr. Kirk Cousins, right? So, of course, I was waiting for this question to be asked during Raheem Morris' interview, and it took a while, believe it or not. It wasn't like one of the first questions asked. It was like in the middle of the interview section, and they asked, "Was Kirk Cousins out there?" And Raheem said he was not. Right? That's what he reported. Um, And honestly, for me, I'm gonna be honest with you. I just talked about this time of the year, developing the chemistry with your teammates and things like that. And the fact that Kirk Cousins, um, it's not there, it's telltale. And I know it's voluntary, so he does not have to be there. So he's not getting fined, anything like that. It's not even. You don't want to really make a big thing about it because he might have had something going on while he wasn't there today. But at the same time, because I think Kyle Pitts wasn't there neither, if I'm not mistaken, I got that report that Kyle Pitts was not out there. And I'm pretty sure he maybe had something going on. But so it's not voluntary, but um, you know, it has not been a lot of word about how much time Kirk has been out there with the team. Um, and I went on record saying that I don't think he's going to be a locker room cancer. But this is the time of the year, like I just talked about in the previous segment, where you want to build that chemistry. We got a lot of new guys, and yes, he's going to be the backup. So I guess he feel like he's going to let Penix do that kind of thing. He don't want to be the shoulder, but if he's going to be the backup, he's part of the team. Everybody knows the backup quarterback is really important for any team, and if he's going to be here, be the backup, you would like to see him here as well. So I'm not going to make too much out of it, but the fact that he was not there kind of give me some worrisome about the dynamic in the quarterback room. Um, and maybe the Falcons might need to just cut bait, right? We talked about it. I said I think they need to get something, out of Kirk Cousins. You know, giving him $100 million guaranteed. Just let him go. eating that $47 million that they owe him, that would suck. It really would. But if he's gonna be a problem, which right now I'm not saying that's the case, just wasn't it a voluntary OTAs, right? So you don't really want to make a big deal about it, but at the same time, he was not there, right? And of course, that was one of the first reports came out. If you looked at the national media, it was really quick to say that Kirk Cousins was not there. Now it was reported, I think yesterday they reported that the Falcons want a team to take bulk of the salary that owes to Kirk Cousins, and that's right. One of the reasons why he has not been dealt yet, right? So, I mean, Atlanta Falcons seem like they firm on this. They want to make what's best for the Atlanta Falcons. They keep saying that they're not have not been shy about that take about making sure that they get something that's going to help the team instead of just letting Kirk Cousins go away for something. So, you know, like I said, I would my suggestion would let him come to camp, see what happens during the season, see if a quarterback goes down or something, then he can go in and be that starter. And then they might be able to recoup some of that money that they paid out to Kirk Cousins. So we'll just have to see how it pans out. Not gonna make a big deal about it because tomorrow Kirk Cousins could be there and do an interview with the team. It's just how it's gonna be because it is voluntary. So it's not where now we get to go to mandatory minicamp. He does not show up then that would be a story because it's mandatory. Gotta be on the roster. He's supposed to be there. It's mandatory minicamp that goes in June, I think June 9th, if I'm not mistaken. So that's where you have to start to now make it a big issue. But right now, it's not where you want to. He's not the starter. The starter is there. And he just feel like he want to let the starter acclimate himself with his new teammates instead of, overshadowing the starting quarterback, because he is going to be, somebody that's in the background, with a big shadow, a guy who played going his 14th season, right? Stand over a guy who's just getting his first full season as a starter in the back. So that's going to be telltale. So we definitely have to look and see the story about Kirk Cousins. But guys, let me know what you think about that. What you think about Kirk Cousins not being at voluntary OTAs, right? And do you think it's a big deal or no deal? Do you think the Falcons should go ahead and cut bait so he won't start a quarterback controversy here, and or should they stand pat and stick to the guns about how they've been talking about since um, this offseason started? So that's the storyline of Kirk Cousins. We had to talk about him because, like I said, it was the first thing that popped up from the Raheem Morris interview where asked about Kirk Cousins and he was not at OTAs today, phase 3. All right, so let's talk about our starting quarterback, Michael Penix Jr., where we heard from him. Well, the one thing about what people keep saying about Michael Penix Jr., which is his his confidence, right? And it's a quiet confidence that he shows that he know he can play, and he shows it a lot. He really shows it where he believed that he's going to be able to get the job done. He's not a real vocal guy. Raheem Morris even spoke about him being a different kind of leader that he's seen from other quarterbacks. A lot of them saying most quarterbacks are voiceful and things like that, but Mike don't say a lot, but you can see the confidence that he got that he's gonna be really, really good. And then he get on the field and he displays that confidence. So that's what most of the players are saying from a defensive side, offensive side. So what everybody's saying, you can kind of see that when you see him play, is that he believes in his talent, and it's gonna be something really, really special to see. So when I think about you know what we've seen from Michael Penix Jr. in year one in those 3 games, just his his maturity, what I took from it, and his ability to already kind of get a feel for the game, right? Because that's one thing when you're a young quarterback, being able to get a feel for the game, right? You still got a lot to learn. You haven't seen all the defenses yet, all the things they're going to throw at you. But the fact that Raheem Morris and the Atlanta Falcons, top brass was willing to put Michael Penix Jr. out, during the playoff race, right? That says a lot, right? Because usually when you put a rookie, getting his first start in the middle of a playoff race, that's huge. And the Atlanta Falcons did that. That's what they did. Those last last 3 games that he started, pretty much was, you know, trying to put the Atlanta Falcons in the playoffs. Right? We know what happened. The outcome when what is not what we wanted. That Washington game, I think, was really his coming out party. Because you go back to the Giants game, it was a mixed bag a little bit, but the defense played so well in that game. The Giants was just a bad team. So you didn't really get an idea of, how good Michael Penix could be, from that New York Giants. You did see some throws. Don't get me wrong. We did see some throws where, him and Darnell Mooney had a good connection in that game. You go back and look at that game. But the game that, to me, that really showed, his coming out party was that Commanders game on Sunday Night Football. I thought it was huge to watch him play. Starting off slow as well, but the way he started off, throwing interceptions, start off, and then to come back and have, you know, some of the biggest plays. Third down, fourth down throws, you know, just pinpoint, shoulder poise, then panic. The things that he was able to do, he still was hesitant though. You can see some throws that, that he did not make. Right, it was one play. I think it was in that last drive. As a matter of fact, where Drake was wide open, and it seemed like he wanted to pull the trigger, and he tried to run for a couple of yards instead of pulling the trigger. But you did see the progression from that game. So game 2 to game 3, and I think he made every throw he could possibly make in that Carolina game. So you saw the his ability to get more comfortable after each game, and he started to show the skill set that he displays. Right now, what we're gonna get from Michael Penix is our entire offseason with all those guys, developing the chemistry, being able to understand the playbook that's going to probably be more tailored to his skill set, opening up a little bit more. We heard Darnell Mooney talking about he loves to throw the ball down the field. We're going to see if that's what's going on 330. We're going to see if that's something that Michael Penix is going to be able to do. But what I liked about what most people said about him, if it's just his quiet confidence that he shows, and they use the word "aura," right? You heard from Jamal Agnew said it's just he just feels like, and then he said when he throw that rock, it comes out spinning, right? So that kind of stuff you can't teach. You either got it, you don't got it. And Michael Penix does have that arm talent. That's without a doubt. That's not a question. And to go with it is the accuracy. So, Michael Penix, we heard from him. He was quiet, cool, confident. He's excited about this season, being able to know he's going to be the man coming in. No questions about it. We know he's the starter guy. He's the starter, and he's going to be able to put his offense in there, right? What he does well, the things that he do, get on the same page with his pass catchers. One thing he said was, they asked him about his receiver room. He said it's deep, right? And we see the talent that's there. Not big name guys per se. We got Drake and we got Darnell, but those other guys going to play big roles. And one thing about Michael Penix, what we've seen at the University of Washington is his ability to spread the ball around, right? He wasn't going to one guy. He was taking what the defense was giving him, and he was spreading the ball around to a whole lot of different players. So, hopefully he'll be able to do that. And then to combine that with what we'll be able to do on the ground, it's definitely going to be nice. So, I love what I heard from Michael Penix today. I love what I heard the team said about Michael Penix, from the head coach to his teammates. And now we just got to see him put it all together. That's what we want to see. And That's going to probably be, you know, let's give him a nickname, the Quiet Storm, man. Right? If they quiet confidence, and he's gonna come out throwing that rock. That's what we like to see. So I love it. I know you guys love it as well. Can't wait to see what Michael Penix Jr. bring to the table. Um, and you know, that's the beauty of this time of the season. The chemistry, everybody's from all 32 teams are feeling good about going into year this season 2025. So guys, let me know what you think about Michael Penix Jr. What you heard from him today, what you heard the teammates, the coach said about it, and I feel like we got us one, guys. Don't want to get too high yet, but we just got to let it play out. All right, next topic. Next topic is talking about Dre Texas Boy said Michael Penix Jr. is ready to lead this franchise. Yeah, man. Another thing that he said too was he talked with Matty Ice, right? Just getting him try to be a professional, right? And one thing about being a professional, first of all, about being one of the 32 quarterbacks in NFL is being the face of the franchise, right? It's not if you want it or not. It's just something. It's pretty much is what it is. You're gonna be the face of the franchise. Um, but listen to Matt Ryan, give him, like he said, pour into him, give him some tools to put in his toolbox. We know for a fact Matt Ryan, out of all people, is really good to take advice from, because we got to remember when Matt Ryan came in, he came in behind Michael Vick, and that's the beloved Mike Vick. We talking about a guy that people still rocking Mike Vick jerseys right now. People still think Mike Vick is still the man. So and they're not wrong. Mike Vick was the show. He really was, right? And we always gonna love what Michael Vick, but he put Atlanta on the map, in my opinion, right? Before Michael Vick came here, a lot of people didn't give Atlanta a lot of respect. When Michael Vick turned that around, he was a show. So, and Matt Ryan had to follow that up, right? Just think about it. Matt Ryan had to follow that up, and he came in, man. He hit the ground running. So, if anybody knows how to win over a city, you know, especially playing behind a beloved player that was here before, be Matt Ryan. So he can definitely show him how to teach a pro. And Matt's still polarizing in this city, man. We know that for a fact, because a lot of people still don't respect Matt the way they should. But I mean, let's be honest, he's the most winningest quarterback in NFL history, in Atlanta Falcons history. To my opinion, he's the greatest Falcon of all time because of his longevity, right? I'm not talking about talent. I'm just talking about um, the guy that been here the longest and did the most for this franchise, and that would be Matt Ryan. So Michael Penix Jr. getting, you know, tips from him, I think is going to give him insight. But guess what? Another left-handed black quarterback coming in for this city. Michael Penix Jr. won't have to, you know, deal with what Matt had to deal with. He just need to play well, because I think he's going to be beloved already, and I think everybody wants him to play well. They want him to do good. So all he got to do is just don't freaking mess it up, and then he's going to be all right, right? All right. So what I want to talk about, guys, is the free agent signings and the impact in 2025. So let's just start off the Atlanta Falcons, and we kind of forgot about this. The reason we forgot about it because it was so long ago. It was in March, right? We got so excited about what happened in April, which was the draft. But the Atlanta Falcons signed 22 free agents. 22 free agents, right? And we kind of forgot about that, right? So, these guys are going to be part of this team, right? And I'm just call out the 22. So just to give you guys a refresher who the Atlanta Falcons signed, because we got so hype about the draft class, we kind of forgot about the free agents they brought in that was kind of underwhelming to a lot of us because we was like, okay, what they're going to be able to do. But then you put these guys along with the draft picks, you kind of like the depth. And that's what I want to talk about is the depth and the competition that was created by these free agents and the draftees they brought in. So you got Easton Stick at quarterback and a guy that might end up being the backup. We just don't know what's going to happen with Kirk Cousins. So Easton Stick could be the backup. They re-signed Kevin King and D. Alford. Both of those guys was in the secondary last year. They was free agents. So yes, I'm going to call out returning guys as well. But Kevin King is guy who's going to be in the safety room. D. Alford, the guy who's going to be competing for that nickel position, right? Tegan Quick Tirano is a tight end. They signed him. Lenny Craig is going to be competing with Young Wei Koo for the kicker position. Of course, we got Jordan Fuller, going aside Jesse Bates. We heard him speak today. He's ready to ball, but he's going to be in competition as well with Xavier Watts and DeMarco Helms, right? For that second safety spot. Got Jamal Agnew coming in, former DBs turned wide receiver, return specialist coming in. It's going to be with the wide receivers. Bring back one of the Atlanta Falcons' favorite guys, Felipe Franks, at tight end position. One of the best special teamers of last year coming in. Um, he played almost 70% on special team for the Carolina Panthers last year. Mike Ford is a special team specialist at cornerback coming in. So looking at some of these guys coming in, Jamal Agnew, Felipe Franks, Mike Ford, all special team aces, right? Along with Cardell Hodge as well. That's another guy they re-signed. But those four guys right there, you think about, making the special teams better. People think the special team does not matter, but it does. And those four guys that I just called out, Jamal Agnew, Felipe Franks, Mike Ford, Cardell Hodge, it's going to be some special team aces, especially they'll also be able to contribute, and they're both, respective side of the ball as well. Morgan Fox, we forget about Morgan Fox, a guy that played a lot of football, who's a excellent veteran to bring in with some of these younger guys, like Rook and Brandon and stuff like that. So Morgan Fox is going to be huge. Bringing back Contavious Street, I think was huge as well. A guy that, when Grady went out 2 years ago, came in and had some big numbers for the Atlanta Falcons. So bringing back Contavious Street, Taquan Graham as well, another guy's coming back. Just adding to that defensive room. Keith Taylor, we kind of forgot about him, cornerback. He's going to be competing in that depth in the cornerback room. Divine Diablo, right? A name like Divine Diablo, like, how have I never heard of him before? But a guy that shows the speed. You can see the signing that the Atlanta Falcons, their mindset when they was going to get a guy like Divine Diablo, a guy who can go sideline to sideline, or safety turned linebacker, from college. We heard K. Nelly say he made a big play today, and in team drills. So we'll definitely get to see what he get to break to the table. Their biggest signing that they brought in was Leonard Floyd, right? We know about that guy in the last 5 seasons. At least had at least 8 sacks. If you get 8 sacks, that'll be the highest sack total we had from a player in years, right? So Leonard Floyd coming in to compare it with those rookies, right? That we talked about. Mike Hughes, bringing back Mike Hughes was huge. Right now, he's going to be in that role for being the number 2 corner on the opposite side of AJ Terrell. Then Atlanta Falcons brought back some of their offensive linemen: and Storm Norton, Brandon Parker, Elijah Wilkinson, Kyle Hinton, right? And then rounded it off, they brought back linebacker Josh Woods. So those are 22 guys that the Atlanta Falcons signed in free agency. And you kind of was forgotten, right? Because we talked about the draft class so much and what we expect the draft class to be, right? A lot of people said that we got 4 new starters potentially coming in from the draft class. But when you look at these other positions, so we talk about the safety position, right? We expect Xavier Watts that to have a role in the safety room, but you still got Jordan Fuller. You got DeMarco Hellens come back from the IR, right? They brought Kevin Keene in as well, might play some safety. So that safety room is really deep right now. So you love that. You love to see, the competition there, right? So when I look at the free agent signings and the young players that they brought in, the rookies and undrafted. We'll talk about undrafted just a minute. The undrafted guys they brought in, you see the depth at each position, right? That's first thing you see, but now you also see competition, right? And that's what you always want to be able to have. Any sport, any team, you want to have competition, right? Because what you don't want to have to give a guy a job because he the only guy you got there, right? You have no choice to be like, yeah, he ain't really that good, but who else we gonna go with? Well, this is not the case when you look at, you know, the depth around these positions, right? We talk about the safety position, right? The best safety is going to play, besides just the bigs because they got competition there, right? Um, that nickel position, right? You look at Billy Bowman, you got D. Alford coming back. Um, You got Clark Phillips the third, another guy that's trying to be there, right? You're gonna see who's gonna come out on top, um, in that cornerback room for that nickel spot, right? We want to see that. That's going to be huge. Um, you got guys like Divine Diablo, coming in to compete with J.D. Bertrand and Troy Anderson, right? Those guys. You see Josh Woods, another linebacker they brought in. So you love the talent that they brought in and creating the depth, but you also see the competition, right? And they always say cream rise to the top, right? So that's what we're going to see, right? When you feel like because these positions are so deep and all these, these players so deep at all these positions, you feel like the best players are going to get on the field if the coaches are true to what it is, right? Don't look at the wallet size and the veteran status and things like that. You're gonna look at the best players because you got competition all around the board, and you don't have to settle for a guy. You're gonna pick the best guy. That's what you gotta like about it. Um, and I think, just looking at these free agents, like Lenny Craig, right? We've seen the video go viral, him hitting a 6-3 yard field goal. But I really believe that it's going to be a true competition between him and Young Waku, right? Um, Still think Young Waku probably going to win it out if he's 100% healthy, but the competition is there, and you love to see that, right? Um, Mike Hughes. So let's talk about the undrafted guys, right? Because those are 22 veteran free agents they brought in, but then the Atlanta Falcons brought in 11 undrafted free agents. And these guys just thrown right in the mix with all the other, free agents and the draft class that was brought in, right? So you look at a guy like Simeon Barrow, defensive lineman out of the University of Miami, right? This guy is quick off the ball, kind of fit into what Nate Ali has been talking about, the tech style defense. You watch Simeon Barrow, it's perfect, right? Because what he wants to do is get upfield. He want to hit his gap and get upfield. Simeon Barrow, that's how he plays. You watch how he plays, and his motor is good, right? He don't quit on plays. That's what I seen from it. I like, that addition and this bringing in competition in that defensive line room. Kobe Bryant, right? We talk about this guy. You know, you add him, you had Billy Bowman, you had Xavier Watts. Those three guys probably had some of the most combined interceptions out of anybody in the college football. The Atlanta Falcons got all three of those guys on their rosters, right? So that's just insane. You think about, you know, Kobe Bryant, Xavier Watson, Billy Bowman, and the number of interception combined that they had in college, and they all on the Atlanta Falcons team. So Kobe Bryant, I think he's going to play a role. I think he's going to have a good opportunity if he can show that skill set. It's not given. You got to show it. You got to put it on what you was able to put on tape in college. You got to put it in on the field. You know, during this time frame. Can't do it all today. So, in OTAs, that's not when you're going to do it. Right now, it's you're learning from neck up to this time of the year. But it's going to be important to see what Kobe Bryant bring to the table. Nathan Carter, running back, right, from Michigan State. This guy is have an opportunity to compete with Jace. I talked about him the other day when I talked on Sunday when I talked about the year two guys. But Nathan Carter coming in, we already know who our 1 and 2 is, but Nathan Carter can be key for that third and fourth running back spots, right? Joshua Gray, offensive lineman out of Oregon State, um, come in to probably be some competition for Ryan Newsel. If anybody can tell me have Ryan Newsel signed his tender yet, I don't even know that for sure. I guess we need to look that up, see if he signed his tender. But Joshua Gray coming in, offensive lineman, played all over the interior of offensive line, Oregon State, but they probably project him as a center. So that competition coming in, competition. That's what we're talking about, competition. Nick Kubitz, going in that linebacker room, a guy out of North Dakota State. We're going to see what he's going to be able to bring to the table. He's kind of light, but you love his movement and things like that. Dante Manning, another guy coming into the cornerback room. That cornerback room is deep. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do with Dante Manning. Of course, Nick Nash, right? The Triple Crown winner in FBS, coming in, going to be competing with Cardell Hodge, Casey Washington, um, Jamar Agnew probably is going to be the returner, so that spot's probably there. But it's going to see what Nick Nash be able to do. Can his game translate from what he was able to do in college? Joshua Simmons is really interesting. Go back and look at what he was able to do at the University of South Carolina as a tight end, and it kind of made me say you can see it might be the writing on the wall for a guy like Kyle Pitts. You bring in a guy like Joshua Simmons because he's really productive, 245 pounds. He's a really good run blocker as well. So we're going to see if he can make the squad. Of course, that tight end room is going to be, kind of full as well. You already got 3 Felipe Franks, Kyle Pitts, and Charlie Warner, right? You got those 3 guys there. You bring in Joshua Simmons, another guy. And then we talked about Tegan Quintariano, another guy that they brought in free agency. So that tight end room is deep. Competition, guys. Quincy Skinner, another receiver, coming in with Nick Nash. So you look at the receiver core, competition. Malik Vernon is another safety. So bring him into that safety room. He was really solid as well. So just another guy that the Atlanta Falcons bring in and see if he's going to be able to make the roster. Then Jordan Williams, right? Jordan Williams, another outside offensive tackle coming from Georgia Tech. To go with the other guys, Jack Nelson, the guy that they drafted out of Wisconsin. So those are the 11 guys for free agency. And you're going to add those 11 guys to the 22 free agents that Atlanta Falcons signed and re-signed. And man, that's a lot of depth, right? So what we can say that the Atlanta Falcons can't say they're not a deep team. I think when you look across the board, they're a deep team. So, and you might not get the same, level of play from somebody that's coming in, but you're not going to get such a big drop off where you'll be kind of upset, right? That's what we're trying. That's what you want when you create the depth, right? You're gonna have your starter, but then you're gonna have some of your guys that playing that depth that's going to be able to stick in, and you shouldn't see a big drop off. That's what you're hoping for anyway. A lot of these guys going to be dependent on the place of special teams, right? That's going to be huge. If they're going to make this roster, play special teams. The crazy part about it, we know we can only have a 53-man roster, but you can have a 16-man practice squad. So it's like 69. Then if you count it, the international guy that doesn't count towards that roster, you can have 70. So technically, you can have 70 guys on your roster, which means you have a 90, which is kind of exciting now, right? Because you got a 90-man roster. So 20 guys is not going to make the team, right? Which is unfortunate for some of these guys, but it's important for them to put their game on film and put it on tape, so they'll be able to try to make a team. If they don't make it with the Atlanta Falcons, they can make it somewhere else, right? That's the goal. But 53 plus 16 man practice squad. And now the way especially with Atlanta Falcons use, they call these guys up, right? And then they contribute to, some games during the season, right? We have seen that. You see guys going IR, guys get elevated to the start to the roster. So having that 16-man practice squad is huge. So if you don't make the 50-man roster, the 16 practice squad is just as good. They get paid a little bit better now as well. But these guys going to have impact, right? And some of these guys that got brought in as free agents, their spots are not guaranteed, right? Let's just be honest. That's why you do the competition. We just talked about the competition, and so their spot is not guaranteed at all. So we definitely going to get an opportunity to see these guys compete, and you gotta love what you're going to get from T. Terry says. Nate Carter is a good running back that is similar to Bijan's style, but it's faster, 4.3 speed with power too. Yeah, man. So that competition. So a guy like Jace that did not, was on IR last year, his position is not safe at all, right? He has opportunity, but he's definitely going to be a competition um, to make that roster. So you can't wait. Right now, you can't speed the process up. A lot of people ready to get to, you know, let's break down a 53-man roster like that. What's too early? It's way too early. Like I said, right now, this team is just trying to develop and get to know one another, right? You listen to her, Mike Penix said. Mike Penix said he wanted to get to know all his teammates, not just the guys on offense, but the guys on defense as well, because that's how you believe and start to believe in one another and be like, man, I don't want to let this guy down. I don't want to let that guy down. Develop the chemistry. You get to know guys. Mike Penix talked about, getting to know guys and know how to be able to motivate them, right? Some guys you could get at in certain ways. Some guys you have to cuddle and talk nice to, right? It's just nature of the beast, right? Everybody got different personalities, but being a leader of a team is important for Mike to be able to do that. So that's what this time of the year is all about. Um, so all these guys have opportunities. That's really what all you asking for in life, right? You don't want no hand-me-downs. Kay Ellis mentioned something. He said that all these guys have the ability to play in the NFL. That's why they were either drafted or brought in as undrafted free agents, because they have the ability to play in the NFL, right? And what that means that when you get your opportunity um, to shine, you got to shine, man. And that's competition across the board. A lot of these guys going to get to go up against, if you were DB, going to get to go up against Kyle Pitts and Drake London and Darnell Mooney, right? You're going to be able to go there. Guys on the defensive line going to get to go up against Jake Matthew, Chris Lindstrom, Caitlin McGarry, those guys. We're going to get to see that. Some guys, some of those linebackers going to have to try to guard Bijan out the field, about the backfield. We get to see that. So you're going to get to see the competition. And like I said, cream rises to the top. So the best players is going to be starting. The best players are going to make the team. And then some guys are going to have specific roles that they're going to play. Some guys, if you don't start, don't mean that you're not going to have a significant role on this team either. So just can't wait to see how this thing shakes out. It's just getting started. But what I did not want to do, before we, get into the offseason, program with the mandatory minicamp, things like that, forget about our free agents that we signed. We were so excited about, the draft class, the undrafted guys that were brought in, that we kind of forgot about. They signed 22 free agents, which is a lot, right? Some guys were brought back, course. So they re-signed some guys, but it's a lot of new faces on the team. And that's why you hear K Nellis talking about getting to know the teammates and why this time of the year is important, right? You're not doing football right now. You're doing administrative stuff. You're doing, you know, building the chemistry, learning the playbook, stuff from neck up, right? And building camaraderie, building the culture, what Jesse had to say. So those are some of the things you're going to get from this time of the year, but they're important. Our new faces, new coaching staff, a new defensive scheme, right? You listen to Zach Robinson, they're bringing new elements to the offense in, stuff that went well. They want to add, going to play to Michael Penix Jr. strengths. You're going to start doing stuff like that. So it's a lot. This is an important time of the year. And talking about these free agents coming in, it's going to be huge as well. So, guys, let me know about which 2025 veteran free agent that the Atlanta Falcons brought in that you excited to see. For me, personally, I want to see what Jamal Agnew brings to the table, right? I know he's one of the best return men in the league, but that element, the special team is. Well, I want to see we be able to capitalize on that this year. I don't think we did it well at all last year. From a defense, from a block kick standpoint, yes, we did. Shout out to Cardell Hodge because he was really instrumental in that. But I want to be able to get our return game going. So for me, on all these free agents, Jamal Agnew is one I'm intrigued about and see what he's going to be able to bring to the table. Some of these guys go without saying, Leonard Floyd, Dwayne Diablo, Morgan Fox. I definitely want to see what they're going to bring to the table. But what I'm really intrigued about is Jamal Agnew. Definitely want to see what Jamal Agnew is going to be able to do. So I can't wait to see. Says Michael Penix Jr. is so smart for his age at quarterback. Yeah, it does seem like that. It really does, man. It seems like he got things figured out, and he don't got to completely figure out. Trust me, he's going to have some sophomore woes as it happens with young players, but it does seem like he had to figure out. I do agree with you on that. He's still gonna miss some throws. He missed some throws, in games. So it's not going to be perfect. No player is going to be perfect. They're going to make mistakes. But for me, I'm also kind of want to see Felipe Franks. We haven't seen him in a while. Since he transitioned to tight end, he was still learning the position. But he's been able to stick with this team for a while. So, stick in the league for a while. So that's really good. So, and like he found a home being a special teamer. So want to see what he brings to the table for the Atlanta Falcons. So, guys, but all these 33 players that I just talked about today, from the 22 signees, veterans, free agents, until the 11 undrafted guys. Sure, I want to know what you're thinking about. T. Terry says Pitt wasn't at training today. Where has he been? Yes, a good question. I don't know. We have to get more info. Hopefully, he just has some personal things going. It is voluntary. I don't know if you was here when I started talking about Kirk Cousins. Because Kirk Cousins, he made headlines for not being there for voluntary practice. I still think it's a big deal that he wasn't there, but I don't want to make it like it's going to be a controversy because it's voluntary. So, but same thing with Kyle Pitts. Maybe he had some kind of engagement. We'll never know. You don't have to really say it because it's voluntary now. Like I said, starting June 9th, I think, started mandatory minicamp. These guys not there mandatory minicamp. Now we got to start to wonder what's going on, right? That's when we start to get a panic. But right now, it's no reason to make a big deal about it because it's voluntary. I mean, you look at the Pittsburgh Steelers, they still waiting on Aaron Rodgers, right? And he don't know his teammates or nothing, and they expect him to be their quarterback. It's just weird to me. Like, I feel like they should move on from that situation, and And I'm being a little biased, of course, and try to get Kirk Cousins, but it's just crazy to me that they still waiting on Aaron Rodgers. They started, you know, phase 3 of OTAs. He's not there. He don't know none of his teammates, right? And so hopefully he make a decision for those guys by June, so they can go to mandatory minicamp. But it's just crazy that he holding those guys hostage, and they're willing to wait on him, which is sad, right? And they could have had a good rookie quarterback in there to help him out. So, and y'all know what I mean by that. So it's just crazy. But yeah, Pitt's not there, but we're not going to make a big deal about it because it is voluntary OTAs. All right, guys, there you have it for today. Phase 3 of OTAs has started. We heard from the coaches, heard from Raheem Morris, we heard from several veteran players today. Um, Heard from quarterback one, Michael Penix Jr. And I liked everything that I heard. Just not going to sugarcoat it. Didn't get to see a lot, which is fine. But you know, we got 100 days, guys. It's starting all over again. So I know you guys are excited about it. So that's all I have. Let me know what you think about the start of OTAs. Let me know what you think about Kirk Cousins not showing up for voluntary OTAs, right? And it's crazy when I say voluntary. This is why it's the topic to talk about. What you think about Michael Penix Jr. going into his first full season, and then give me your free agent signing that you think that's going to make a really big deal this year for the Atlanta Falcons. T. Terry, get out of here. You said Stephen A. Smith and Ryan Clark don't want Kurt at Pittsburgh. So we don't care what they want. They don't play for Pittsburgh. They might not get Aaron Rodgers though. So that's just the way it is. But there you have it, guys. Give me your thoughts. Please like, share this video and all my other videos on Ricondo Real Falcon Fan, and talk to you soon. This is your boy Ricondo coming back at you with another video. Peace.